of the world of anxiety sufferers, only about 10% really need to be medicated. But the other 90%, all they need are lifestyle changes.
What if your biggest setbacks, your anxiety, your aging body, your constant burnout were actually signals pointing you towards your most powerful self? Today's guest, Julian Brass, is living proof. From building a media empire to becoming a global wellness coach and best-selling author of Own Your Anxiety, Julian helps high-performing men over 40 transform stress into strength through his F-Fit40 method. This episode isn't just inspiration, it's your blueprint for leveling up in body, mind, and mission. If you're ready to start your transformation, this episode is for you. Let's get this conversation started with Julian Brass. I'm Larry Sprung, your host for the Midland Money Mindset and founder and wealth advisor of Midland Financial. Let's dive into today's show. Well, Julian, welcome to the show. It is exciting to have Julian Brass, the founder of F-Fit40. Thanks for joining us today.
Great to be here, Larry.
Yeah, it's awesome. So listen, we're going to spend a lot of time today on F-Fit40. But before we do, our listeners, our subscribers are super excited by the entrepreneurial journey because they're so different, so interesting. So can you share with us kind of your path to founding F-Fit40? How'd you get there?
Yeah, for sure. So it's definitely not the most straight, linear path, that's for sure. And I like that. And I think I relate to people and they relate to me in a way that which wouldn't be possible if it was so linear. You know, life isn't linear. I'm sure all your listeners know that. So I've been an entrepreneur since I was a kid. Literally, first business was 8 years old. My grandmother, my booby, bought it for $40 because I wasn't doing my homework. So that was my first exit. And, since then I've just had different businesses continuously. Eventually when I, started to become a little more professional in my business endeavors, I first built and sold a very popular online media company. We became one of the biggest for the sort of affluent millennial generation in Canada. That was the target market. And I did that for just short of a decade. Award-winning entrepreneur with all sorts of accolades for that business. And in that business, I kind of lost myself, especially at the beginning. And it's funny, it was my second sort of move out of college. My first was actually in finance. And, first couple of years, I lost myself, man. That entrepreneurial bug that I had, in me since I was 8, it all of a sudden at like 24, 25 years old, it was real entrepreneurship, not part-time entrepreneurship, if you know what I mean? And I was like blindsided, okay? Out of nowhere, I started to get bad anxiety. I started to struggle with bouts of depression. And, I felt overwhelmed. To the outside world, back in 2008, 9, 10, talking about mental health was not as open as it is today. So I truly suffered silently behind closed doors. And then when I had to go out and do my thing, I put on my blazer, I put on my mask and I did my thing. Thankfully, the business became quite successful and I had a chance to really grow, not just professionally, but personally within that decade of starting and then selling the company. And I share that to really just sort of give your listeners something that they may not hear every day from your guests. I have this great track record as an entrepreneur, and I wouldn't be able to do what I do today had I not have some scars to sort of know what it's like to be in the trenches, not give up, come back up for air, and then say, hey man, I'm staying here. You know what I mean? And from that, I really started to grow and succeed. It sounds like you got something to offer on that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't know if you know this about me, but I sat on the national board for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention for about 15 years. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I lost my brother-in-law in 2004. So I really appreciate you sharing about your journey because mental health is extremely important. And I think you're exactly right. Back in 2008 or even prior, a lot of folks were not talking about it as much today. I wish people were talking about it more. But it's with people like you sharing those stories and sharing those journeys that it becomes more comfortable for others 100%. To also share their journey. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, you got it. And I mean, I'm just scraping the surface here, brother. But just to answer your question about how I got to what I do now, which is helping men who are very successful over 40 get in the best shape of their life physically and mentally through fitness and holistic health. It was because of that journey. You know, if I didn't have that experience and those scars, I would have never found the world of wellness and health. That's the truth. I would have been, a burnt out, stressed out, highly anxious, sometimes depressed entrepreneur. I needed to first figure it out for myself in order to, build my business and stay above water. What happened is, I'll fast forward, after I sold the company, I had truly mastered my own anxiety and I became a pro. I turned that energy, which is often negative and debilitating, into positive and facilitating. And it became my secret edge in business. I said, it's adrenaline. I'm pumped up for this meeting. I'm going to pitch better than all these media companies that are 10 times bigger than me. And I'm going to steal that business. And we did it again and again and again. So I learned how to shift it like a pro athlete or musician. Went on to write a book, which became a best-selling book called Own Your Anxiety. That came out in 2019. And, from then on, I now had two sort of very, very well-known wins under my belt. Thank God. I really was able to, leverage that. And then sort of two things happened from there. Three things. One is I started to invest and advise in a bunch of private companies. And that was great. And it still happens today. Two, I was able to really start to work with other companies that would hire me to help them build their brands. Right. And three, which is what I leaned into the most, which I do today, is I really learned how to just authentically connect with other guys in my shoes. As I got into the best shape of my life, nearing the age of 40, which is sort of statistically a time when we get into worse shape and we start to decline, I didn't just get in the best shape of my life sort of mentally, thanks to the chapter I had shared with you guys, but physically, I got into the best shape of my life. All of a sudden, guys started to ask me like, hey man, what are you doing for your body? And, because of the journey that I shared with you, and I forgot to say that about 10 years prior on the side, as I was nearing the sale of my old business, I got I got certified as a health coach from the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. So I had now been like one foot in the coaching world for almost a decade. I saw there's a problem and a need in the market 100% for entrepreneurs like me, who I am and I get, and we eat, sleep, and breathe the same stuff. And I figured this is a perfect opportunity to really give back in an even more meaningful way than the book that I wrote, because I could go way deeper with people as their coach.
Sure.
And I launched F at 40 about year and a half, 2 years ago. And, it started off with six beta clients, four of whom I knew previously, really successful men who had about 30 to 40 pounds to lose. I called them up. The other guys just found me on Instagram. And next thing you know, within a few months, these guys had dropped tons of weight. Their lives had changed. They started sending me their friends, and today we've got this great business across the world now.
Well, hopefully that exit you had was more than your Bubby's $40 that she gave you on the first business, which I'm sure it was. So since you're focusing on men over 40, which I agree, there seems to be like a drop off on health. Usually people are focusing on their career, their entrepreneurial journey. So sometimes other things get pushed aside. So, what do you wish that men who were over 40 knew now? Like if you're talking to your 30-year-old self, right? What would you be hoping that they knew about themselves that they should be thinking about?
It's a great question. I like that question a lot. There's sort of two ways that we could take it, okay? One way is there is a lot more to life than the need for instant gratification. People get unhealthy because of that need for instant gratification, whether it's food, booze, drugs, sex, cheap thrills, whatever it might be. It's that need for instant gratification that we think, unless we're sort of shaken up to like become aware and conscious, we think we need that. And we don't know how to say no to those impulses and those desires. So the first thing is that, there's way more to life. Life is best when lived for the sake of living.
Right.
Not the sake of, I need another this or I need another that. It's like, no, get high on the fact that you can breathe, man. Like, that's huge. That is a huge thing. And then if you want to take it a step further, the other direction I like to sort of go is, and this is actually very new, so I'm happy to share this live with you guys on your podcast. Like this theory, it just came through a group coaching call. I'm not scripted. I didn't write it beforehand, but it really resonates. And everybody knows the book Start With Why by great author Simon Sinek.
Sure.
It's all about your corporate why, right? He talks about what is the corporate why, like Apple or like this or like that. The great companies, mega companies. What's your corporate why? And everyone's like, oh yeah, I get that. That's really good. The brand team comes out, the sales guys who market, everyone's like, okay, I get it. HR understands, everybody understands. But this is what I like to ask. What is your why for breathing? Why are you here? Larry, why are you here? Joe, Sam, everybody, why are you here? As soon as you tap into why you're here and what's your why for breathing, all of a sudden, making some of the choices that are challenging at first, like, I'm not going to keep on poisoning my body with X, Y, and Z, or I'm going to start getting my steps and I'm going to start stretching. I'm going to work on my posture. I'm going to take my fitness as a joy, not a chore. All of a sudden, those things, it's second nature and you want it because you realize your why for breath is that you want to be a better father, a better husband, a better businessman, a better podcast host, a better whatever, right? And you are now here for a reason. It's not, forget your corporate why. Like, that's cool. But what's your why? That's way more important.
Yeah. So, we do the same thing from a financial aspect, right? Because the money is money, right? People aren't just accumulating money to accumulate money for the most part. There's got to be a why behind it. So What's their why? What's their joy? What's the joy factor that they're looking to basically achieve from accumulating this money? It's not so they could say they can retire, but what are they looking to do in that retirement? Or, maybe they're looking for the joy of watching their kid cross a stage and graduate college, debt free. Maybe that's what they're looking to do. So I agree. And I think one of the things you talk about very openly is that, men don't have to give up the steak. They don't have to give up the bourbon or their mental sanity. So, what are some, 2 or 3 key tips that people can take away from our conversation today in order to still have those things in their life and still get in better shape?
100%. So first of all, it's about education. Okay. So I try to get all of our guys and, the like I'm talking about clients, but even through Instagram and through social media, in little nuggets, whenever I can empower people with knowledge, that is a huge focus of mine. All of my clients, I say to them right off the hop, I'm like, within 8 weeks, you're going to be like a Chat GPT bot inside your mind when you look at a plate of food or you look at a menu or you look at a buffet. Because the only way to win this game of really getting fit and healthy after 40 is that you need to understand basically what's in everything. Mm-hmm. Okay. You got to be able to look at something and say, well, if I order this, then I have to hold this, this, and this. And if I order this and don't hold this, this, and this, then tomorrow I'm going to make up for it by doing this, this, and this. Right. And within 8 weeks or 10 weeks, guys are like freaking robots, which is amazing. And I say the following, which I hope everyone can, take a screenshot with your mind. If you're not going to win the day, often I say, win the day, guys, just win the day. Okay. But if you're not going to win the day when it comes to your fitness, when it comes to your caloric intake, when it comes to the macros and the nutrients that you're bringing in, then win the week. So if you're not going to win the day, win the week. Okay. And now you can have that bourbon. You can have that, steak or, a steak's great, by the way. I mean, there's nothing wrong with steak, but if it's in a butter sauce, different story.
Right.
Okay? But, you can have some of the things that you love and not feel like you're going through life handcuffed and like making so many sacrifices, but you still move in the right direction because you're winning the week. Right?
Yeah. It sounds to me like there's a tremendous amount of flexibility and it seems like flexibility is like almost a key factor to this, meaning, like you said it earlier, if you can't win the day, and listen, there are days that you're just not going to be able to win because you maybe want to enjoy a little bit more, but then you have to, be flexible maybe the next 2 or 3 days to win that week. So it sounds like really flexibility is really an important aspect of this whole health journey, no?
Flexibility is amazing and it's huge. And what I hear again and again and again, and I just want to bring this up because a lot of people say like, I want to, still enjoy life. So I don't want to eat like that. Is this, that at first it's like any new habit. Okay. There's some growing pains, but after a couple months of living like this, I have so many men. Okay. I'm not kidding you. I'm not exaggerating, who drop 20 to 40 pounds within 1 to 2 months. Okay. So now I was talking about guys who did 3 months so far. They're like, I don't even want that stuff anymore. Right. It's not tempting. This is a better way to live. They've smelt the air. They've seen the light. They realize it's a better way to live. Not only because they've gone down like 4 to 6 pant sizes, but it's that they just feel better.
Great.
So once you feel better, you're like, why would I put that poison back in my body? You know what I mean?
Right.
Listen, I love sweets, okay? Especially ice cream, okay? And my wife, she loves cookies. We're both in great shape today, thankfully. We know what to do. We know how to win the week. But like once in a while, we still eat ice cream and cookies. We compromise.
Right.
You're like, actually, we'll have both. We compromise. But it's not like that is, a sign of a life well lived. It's a treat we enjoy once in a while. But do we want to eat that every day? Heck no. Heck no.
Yeah. You know better. It's just a matter of perspective sometimes. So
that's it.
Imagine a relationship where financial conversations don't feel stressful, but actually bring you joy. We've designed a guide to help you have positive, meaningful money conversations with your partner. This isn't just another budgeting tool. It's a roadmap for building trust and connection. So if you're ready to start a joyful money journey with your partner, go to Mytland.us/couplesjoy and download your free guide. Transform your financial future together starting today. Let's shift for a minute because you seem to have found, your platform of choice on Instagram, and you have, somewhere near over 100,000 followers. So for other entrepreneurs that may be listening that are looking to build their digital footprint, what advice do you have for them in terms of going out there, building that audience and being able to reach their target audience?
So you've got to be just relentlessly dedicated to your audience, to your niche, to the brand that you've created or that you're creating. You got to be so dedicated, so consistent. You can't sort of give up when a post doesn't perform, and you can't, you need a strategy, but you're at a loss if you're obsessing about every single post, and that creates hesitation to even put it up, and then you're like, tomorrow, right? You got to get the good stuff out there, and you need to know who you're talking to. That's sort of like a 101 version. Another thing is, once I was actually working with a social media guru. I'm good, but there's much better than me. And he was saying, you got to act as if you're at a conference when you open up Instagram. Okay, or you open up any platform. If you're at a conference, you're not going to be like, "Hey, Larry, check it out. This is what I do, man. I help guys lose weight. I have a best-selling book. My name's Julian. I wear a 32 pant size, and I got a wife who she's great." And it's like, "Hey, buddy, tell me about yourself. What are you looking for? Right? What brings you here? And develop some sort of rapport and connection. That's very, very important. You can't just like post and be in this time chamber where you don't look back for a while till you're ready. You got to interact with your people. You got to add that real value. And then there's, of course, the data. You need to study the data. You need to understand, what works and what doesn't. A very tangible strategy that I'd love to give your viewers here, your listeners, is once you understand what works, right? It doesn't mean just stop there. It means take, say, 70% or 80% of what works, and then and then open up the rest, the margin, with exploratory posts.
Right.
Okay. Test posts. So you could see, hang on. So it's like A/B testing. Okay. So this is like working. This is pretty consistent now. I see that my followers like it, but now can I try a different style, 10, 20, maybe 30% of the time? And will that resonate as well?
So what I'm hearing is lean into the stuff that works and test new stuff on the fringes, and maybe you find something else that works along the way too.
You got it. Exactly.
Yeah, amazing. That's great stuff. So, you talked about your idea and why you wrote Own Your Own Anxiety. And
Own Your Anxiety.
Own your anxiety. That's what I have in front of me. I just read it. I added in some words there. Own your anxiety.
It happens a lot, believe it or not. All good.
It must be in the brain. We're trying to add extra words there. But, you talked about why you wrote it, right? In terms of for yourself. But, at the end of the day, if readers go out and buy the book, go out there and read it, what are you hoping that they're going to take away from it as a reader on the other end?
I want them to accept the invitation that anxiety is actually a blessing and life compass that is actually allowing you to learn more about yourself and live in a way that is in alignment with who you really are. So what your values really are. And the hope is that by doing so, you get to know yourself better, you get to enjoy life more, and you get to feel just a bit lighter, a bit happier, a bit more positive in your day-to-day existence.
So really just to use it, manifest it, and make it something that's working for you and not necessarily holding you back is what I'm hearing.
It could be your secret edge. There's no reason that it isn't, right? We got so many anxiety sufferers who are suffering silently and quietly, and there's a lot of people out there, the vast majority. I did a ton of research with this book and, was able to tap into some of the leading, neuroscientists and brain doctors and, professional athletes. And from a medical standpoint, many professionals in the field say that of the world of anxiety sufferers, only about 10% really, need to be medicated. But the other 90%, all they need are lifestyle changes.
Mm-hmm.
So I am an unmedicated anxiety sufferer, okay? I went to a psychiatrist many years ago and I said, these are my symptoms, what's going on? This is how I live my life day to day to try to help myself. And she said, you're not a candidate for medication, to be honest with you. What you need to do is treat all these positive lifestyle tools like that's your medicine.
Right.
You got to take that.
You have a great doctor there. Because there are so many doctors that be like, here, Julian, here's the pill. Take it. I'll see you in 6-8 weeks. Let's see how it's going, right?
You got it. You got it. And no diss to the people who need to be medicated.
Agreed.
But of course, I know you're not saying that. But the people who do not need to be medicated and are lazy, they'll take a pill instead of going and saying, I need to, go hit the gym. Or I got to stop drinking every night and then, slamming back 5 cups of coffee to nurse my hangover the next day. Those people, and I still am so passionate about this, they must find the determination and willpower to rise up and say, you know what? Maybe I can actually transcend what it is that I'm going through, not by just, sitting there and praying, although that would help.
Right.
And not just by sitting there and meditating, although that would help.
So many things would help, right?
By making the changes.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And again, I really want to be clear. Okay. I'm not a doctor. Okay. I'm not a medical professional. I'm a man who's figured it out for myself, and I've helped tens of thousands of people through my theories and my research, but I'm not a doctor. And I've seen from so many that lifestyle changes will shift the vast part of the anxiety that is uncomfortable and sometimes, too much to handle, that causes us to say, maybe I need medicine. You got to understand that if you make the positive changes and you are as disciplined like you are with closing an X deal or hiring that, rock star for your organization or investing your money the right way, if you're that disciplined with your, lifestyle, then, the world gets better, anxiety dissipates. And when you get a little bit, and you still probably will get a little bit, you know what to do with it. And that's the theory of the book. That's the thesis. Use that energy like an athlete would, when they go on the ice or they go on the court and they're like, a lot of them are throwing up in the locker room before they get out there, man.
Right.
That is hardcore anxiety.
Yeah.
But they shift it.
Yeah.
And now they're scoring goals. Now they're, shooting threes. So it's like, that's the game.
Well, listen,
that we're playing too.
I think that was a great segue because I wanted to talk to you for a minute about how we met. We met because you were working with some of the athletes or all the athletes at the IEHL USA Challenge Cup that took place here at UBS on Long Island in 2025. And I wanted you to share, how did you become involved with that event?
Yeah. So let me tell you, first of all, it was one of the coolest experiences of my entire life. Okay. I am a big hockey guy. I'm a big Zionist and Israel guy. I used to live there for a number of years. It was like, and I love the NHL. So it was like all my favorite things coming together at once, and I love, high performance mentality, right? Clearly what we're talking about.
Right.
So, being the strength and conditioning coach for the Israel Elite Hockey League, it's a huge honor. And then to be able to take that like to UBS Arena, I mean, like, doesn't get much better for a guy who deep down still wants to be an NHL hockey player. So how did I get it? It was a combination of serendipity and hard work. I was vacationing in Tel Aviv a couple years ago. A friend of mine said, come watch the pro volleyball players on a Sunday morning. Went down to the beach right in Tel Aviv. Then during the break, all these big dudes in hockey jerseys come on to the sand. And like one guy had a mic and said, hey, we're the Israeli hockey players. And I pulled out my phone. I shot an Instagram story and I go, wow, like hockey in Israel. This is great. They contacted me and they're like, hey, it's great to connect. Thanks for the support. I'm so-and-so, be in touch with me. And a year and a half later, I'm vacationing with my wife in Tel Aviv again. And I was posting some stuff, I think, on my story and my Instagram. It's at Julian Brass for anybody who wants to check it out. And they said, hey, man, we're in finals. We're in playoffs right now for the season. We'd love you to come and drop the puck at the last game of the playoffs. I'm like, I look at my wife. I'm like, are you kidding me? That's such a cool opportunity. So we drove down to Ashdod where their rink is and dropped the puck and then, got to know them a little more. And next thing you know, they're like, hey, man, we would love you to take on this role with the league. And next thing you know, I'm meeting you and I'm literally stretching out your son.
Yeah.
Helping him get game ready, and he had a great game.
Yeah, thank you. It was it was a great experience for everyone, and I feel very grateful that my son was able to be a part of that. But I would also say this: I think of all the things that you just mentioned that were highlights, one thing that was a highlight for me, and I was wondering, what it was like for you to spend time with the 87-year-old Holocaust survivor Ivan Gluck, who, was the honorary captain of the event, went out during warm-ups to skate around. I had the opportunity to talk to him afterwards. That seemed like it was a highlight in itself, no?
It was a huge highlight. It was absolutely huge. Wow. Yeah, we were in the dressing room for a while. He was with all the guys, and then, it was just him and Neil and David, the coaches of the Jerusalem Capitals, and myself in the sort of coaching dressing room within the locker room, just chatting and hanging out for a while as Ivan was actually getting laced up, put his skates on and put his honorary jersey on. And I mean, it was just fascinating. 87 years old. He's rocking and rolling. He's skating. He's in great shape. He's smiling. It hit me on a lot of levels, first of all, right. I'll tell you one thing that it affirmed: the importance of health and fitness, right? And mindset.
Right.
Right. And I don't know if you saw on my Instagram reel that I made, but I actually had on camera when he was skating around, shaking everybody's hands, and then he fell.
Yes. I saw it live. Yeah.
Saw it live.
And he popped right back up like it was nobody's business, like nothing happened.
Right up. You're right up. Now, that only happens when you're in good shape.
Yeah, I don't know how he felt the next day, but he looked like he was okay. No worse for the wear. So
yeah, and by the way, that's testament to the mindset of a survivor, right?
Yes.
You do not you can fall. Hey, we all fall. I admitted right within 30 seconds of this, I fell when I was starting my old business.
Right,
but you got to get back up.
Yeah, agreed. Well, listen, Julian, it's been amazing to have you on the show. We've talked a lot about some joyful topics and joyful things, and we end each of our shows because our listeners clamor and wait for this question. They want to know, what did you do today that brought you joy and put you in the right mindset for success?
I did my morning stretch routine. I did my prayer. I hydrated. I gave my wife a kiss, and I gave gratitude to God, and I do that every morning, and most days are pretty good days.
Amazing. Sounds like a great way to kick off the day. And listen, we're going to have all of your information in the show notes about FFit40, about your book, Own Your Anxiety. I got it right that time.
There it is.
And we're going to have all that information in the show notes. But if people want to learn more about you, connect with you, learn more about FFit40, what's the easiest and the best place for them to do that?
ffit40.com. So that's FFit40.com. And at Julian Brass, Julian Brass on Instagram. That would be the best way.
Awesome. Well, listen, I appreciate you. I appreciate everything you did for my son that day at the event. I appreciate you being part of the event and all the great things you're doing with FFit40 and, being open and honest and upfront about your mental anxiety and your journey, because that's just going to help countless others share theirs as well. So I appreciate you and enjoy the day.
Hey, the feeling's mutual, Larry. Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed chatting with you, and I look forward to connecting again soon. Have a great day, brother.
A huge thank you to Julian Brass for bringing next level insight on wellness for men over 40, mastering anxiety and building a mindset that fuels success. From the FFit40 lifestyle to owning your mental health, today's episode was packed with transformational tools for high performers ready to reclaim their energy and purpose. If this conversation moved you, you'll want to keep riding this momentum. We've got more breakthroughs just like this ahead. Julian Brass and FFit40 can be found across most social media platforms. All the contact information needed to find him can be found in the show notes.
The opinions voiced in the Midland Money Mindset Show with Lawrence Sprung are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. Investing involves risk, including possible loss of principal. No strategy ensures success or protects against loss. To determine what may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, financial or tax advisor prior to investing. Investment advisory services offered through CWM LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Guests on the Midland Money Mindset Show are not affiliated with CWM LLC.